For round 1 of the ears, we are going to start with our slip knot as we normally do. We are then going to chain 6. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. We're going to make an increase in the second chain from the hook. That is 1 and 2 single crochets in the same spot. Next we'll make 3 single crochets across the next 3 stitches. So that's 1 and 2 and 3. In the final stitch of a chain we're making a 3 single crochet increase, meaning we're making 3 single crochets in the same spot. So number 2 and number 3. We're then going to make 4 single crochets down the other side of the chain. That is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, which brings us to the end of round 1 of the ears. For round 2 we're going to start with 2 increases across the first 2 stitches. So that's increase number 1 and increase number 2. Going to follow that with 3 single crochets. So that is 1, 2 and 3. The next 3 stitches will each receive an increase. So that's increase number 1, increase number 2 and increase number 3. The next 3 stitches will each receive a single crochet. So that's 1, 2 and 3, and in our final stitch we will make an increase. That brings us to the end of round 2 for the ears. For round 3 we're going to make 18 single crochets. That's 1 in each stitch of the round. So that's number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18, which brings us to the end of round 3. For round 4 we're going to make a single crochet followed by an increase, and we're going to repeat that twice. So that's single followed by an increase. Next 1 repetition, single followed by an increase is our second repetition. We're then going to make 3 single crochets across the next 3 stitches. That's 1, 2 and 3. We're then again going to make our single crochet increase mini pattern, and we're going to repeat it 3 times. So it's single followed by an increase. Repetition 1, single followed by an increase. That's repetition 2, single followed by an increase. That's repetition 3. Then we're going to make 4 single crochets on the next 4 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. And finally we are going to put an increase in our last stitch, which brings us to the end of round 4. For round 5 we're going to start with 2 single crochets followed by an increase, and we're going to repeat that twice. So it's single 1, single 2 and an increase. Going to repeat that. Single 1, single 2 and an increase. Then we're going to make 3 single crochets. That's 1, 2 and 3. Then we're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase and repeat it 3 times. So it's 1, 2 followed by an increase. That's repetition 1. 1, 2 followed by an increase. That's repetition 2. 1, 2 followed by an increase. That's repetition 3. We're then going to make 5 single crochets. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And we're going to make an increase in our final stitch, which brings us to the end of round 5. For round 6 we're going to make 30 single crochets. That's 1 in each stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 and 30, which brings us to the end of round 6. For round 7 we are going to repeat the mini pattern of making a decrease followed by 3 single crochets 6 times. So stitch 1 and 2 gets the decrease, and the next 3 stitches each gets a single crochet. That's 1, 2 and 3. We then repeat this pattern, making a decrease followed by 3 single crochets. 1, 2 and 3. Make a decrease and we follow it by 3 single crochets. 1, 2 and 3. Make a decrease followed by 3 single crochets. 1, 2 and 3. Make a decrease followed by 3 single crochets. 1, 2 and 3. Make a decrease followed by 3 single crochets. 1, 2 and 3. Now normally this would be the end of a round, but we want to be able to close our ear, and as you can see we're not quite on the edge yet. So we're going to add 2 shift stitches by just making 2 single crochets. So it's 1 and 2. Now these 2 stitches don't actually change the count of your round. It simply moves your stitch marker 2 places forward, so that you've still got your stitch marker, you've just got it 2 spots forward. For round 8 we're going to be crocheting the ear closed, so we remove our stitch marker. We're going to press our ear closed. You want to make sure that this line for your starting chain is nice and straight when you are closing it, and we are then going to crochet across the opening here through both sides to close this up with 12 single crochets. So we go into the next stitch and we go into the last stitch that we made, so that we're going through both sides, and we make our single crochet. It's number 1. And you go into the second stitch and into the second last stitch, so you're going through both sides, make your second single crochet, and you'll see by this time that your stitches will be lining up nicely, and each time you just go through both sides and you make a single crochet. We don't stuff the ears at all, we are just crocheting them closed to make it easier to sew them into place and to ensure that you've got exactly the right shape. So you're going to be making 12 single crochets in total. If you don't get 12, you have skipped a stitch somewhere. So 10, 11 and 12. Now to finish off we just make 1 chain stitch. We're going to be using this to sew, so we do need to take a little bit more yarn for our tail. Pull it through, tighten, and we just push it into a nice rounded shape. And that is our ear for Kylie the Koala. You're going to need 2 ears, so you need to repeat this part of the video to make a second ear that's exactly the same size as the first one. To ensure that you get the sizing right, make sure that you do the ears directly after each other. Once you've got 2 ears, come back to this point so that we can pin them into place and sew them. Next we're going to be pinning the ears into place, so you'll need your body again. We start by curving our ear. We want this bottom part where we crocheted it closed to form a large letter C when we attach it to the head. So we're going to put it in place next to the head. Okay. See, from our center spot we're going about 1, 2, 3, round about the 4th row down, and we're just going to put our first pin in place to hold it at the top. It makes it a bit easier once that one's in. We want to keep that C shape that we were talking about. Let's just move that out the way. Want the bottom of the ear to line up with the bottom of the eye. As you can see, it's about 1, 2, 3, 4. Roughly a thumb size away from where we did our eyelash there. So that's ear number 1. We now want to pin ear number 2 into the same position on the other side. So we again start by looking from the top. We want our ears to do a line that way, which is nice and even, with our muzzle in the middle. So we check carefully. 1, 2, 3, about 4 away. Pop our first pin into place. Remember, you want to maintain your C shape, and you want to line up the ear with the bottom. Again, we want to make sure it's about a thumb's distance away from where the eyelash ends. Pin it into place, and then we want to check that things actually are even. So look at it from the front, look at it from the top, look at it from the back. You can even look at it from the bottom. Now, just to help you with the sewing, to maintain the C shape, what you can do is to just add a third pin in the middle of each ear to hold the C into place as you are sewing, so that you don't start going straight. Just like that. So that is how you pin your ears into place for the koala. Next, we're going to be sewing our ears into place using invisible stitches. So to achieve this, every time we work through the head, we want to make sure that we are hiding our stitch underneath the ear itself. Every time we go through the ear, we want to make sure that we go through that last round of stitches that we made when we crocheted the ear closed. We, as always, want to keep our stitches close together, and we want to pull them nice and tight to get a nice even result where the stitch actually disappears underneath the ear. So you can see I go through the ear, and then I work through the head but beneath the ears, so that you can't actually see the spot where the needle is going through the head. And after each stitch, I pull my yarn tight to create a nice, neat result. As you can see, this third pin has just helped to hold the C shape into place. But it can go out now since I've gone halfway up the ear. It is best to take your time when you are sewing things on and embroidering things on. These little details actually make a big difference to the quality of the toy that you end up with and people's willingness to pay for the product that you have created. If you do everything nice and neat, you put some time into it, you'll be able to charge more for your work, and you'll have more clients lining up to buy your products. Almost getting to the end here. Last pin out of the way. Go. Now, if you've ever watched a kid with a toy, a soft toy specifically, you'll have noticed that they are constantly dragging it around either by the ears or by the arms. That's why you will find that the ears are usually the first thing to come loose once you've given a toy to a child. For that reason, even though I make small tight stitches, I always do a second round of stitches on the ear, because I know whichever kid ends up with it, they are going to be hard on the ears. And it's just better if your stuff doesn't come apart. Okay, even though it's a second round, we are sticking with nice small tight stitches. We are still working under the ear every time we go through the head. We're still pulling tight after each stitch that we make to ensure that everything is firmly in place. I'm from the school that once I've sewn it on, it is never ever coming off again, no matter what. You'll have to literally cut this ear off to get it off again. Almost to the end now. Right, there we go, it's nice and firmly sewn on. So what I do now is I go into a stitch and I come out at a random stitch at the back of the head. And we're just going to leave it dangling there for now. The second ear, we're going to repeat this exact same process. We're going to sew all the way down and then back all the way up using invisible stitches. When we're done, we're going to have the needle come out in the same opening here. We're going to knot the two ends together and hide the knot inside the head to finish off sewing on the ears. Now I'm going to show you that part in fast forward so that you've got it.